adjust our we can now adjust our actually we might go off the front here. There we go, that's better. Like that's going to be the best spot to put it on this rifle. Now, what we want to do, guys, is we want to get that level, obviously as level as we can. Okay, and as you can probably see, that level is now nice and level. And what we want to do is we want to take our cap, because our cap is not completely smooth on top. We're going to take the cap off of our scope, because the top of the cap is a lot more level. And what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to sit our other level, if it'll sit, on top. And we can see straight away that our scope is not level with our bore. So what we'll do is we'll go now and we'll turn scope until we get it somewhere pretty well close. And what we can do now, guys, is we can start to wind the screws in. Now you want to keep in mind and make sure that both your gaps on both rings are have equal on the bottom and also on the top, because especially with these style of rings, if you do them in at the bottom and then start to wind them in at the top, you'll find the scope will turn and will not mount evenly and properly, and you'll eventually start crushing into the scope tube, and you don't want that. You'll ruin the optic that you just purchased. So we just want to bring the bottom ones in. Yep, I've got the wrong one here. Okay. So we want to wind the bottom ones in. Okay. Just double checking when you do that you have an even gap on both the back and front side of the ring. Slide that in the middle of there. Okay, so now we've taken those rings in at the bottom, we're sitting there nice and firm. We can now go through and look at our level, and we can confirm on the top that we need to obviously turn the scope. The scope is not sitting quite level on the top, so we'll just turn the scope in the mount. We may have to back it off slightly to do that, but a little tight. Okay, now we'll try that again so we can turn that scope. There we go. tad more. Take the other way. Okay. So the rifle has moved out of level, so we just straighten that back up again. Okay, so we still need to come across a little bit more at the top of that scope, so we just turn that a little bit more. Oh. Can be a little bit fiddly sometimes, guys, when you're doing this, but it's well worth taking the time to do it correctly, because it'll pay off for you in the long run. Such a small amount of movement to get them level, but okay, now we're perfectly level. Now that we've got those basically perfectly in line and level, both the rifle action and also the scope, we can now go ahead and the same thing again. About 25 to 30 inch-pounds is as much as you want to torque these down to, and you want to do them in sort of a crisscross pattern. So you want to, start it, say, at the bottom, at the front here, and just nip them in. And just keep checking to make sure that your gap on all sides of the scope rings are exactly the same, so that you're not putting any extra pressure anywhere else on the optic. And then we can go ahead then to the next one. And at the same time, we want to still be checking to make sure that we're completely level. And as you'll notice, when you start to tighten in your bottom screws, your base screws, they will tend to pull the scope towards you a little bit. And if you were to do the top, they'll tend to pull the scope away from you a little bit. So just keep in mind checking your levels constantly, make sure your levels are right. Also, another good idea is to then take it out of the vise, take a look down the optic, just to make sure that we're nice and level down the optic, which we are. We're pretty well spot on. Okay. Again, when you tighten up your vise, just make sure you re-level again so you can keep an eye on it. Okay. I don't know how well you can see me here, but so guys, you want to do it in a bit of a cross pattern as much as you can, just to make sure those gaps all end up the same. And in this instance, I think I'm going to do these at about 25 inch-pounds because we don't need these ones super tight. And we'll just start in a crisscross pattern, and we'll torque these in now until you hear the click. Okay. Go back to this one. Start on the other screw. Start at the top. Again. There we go. And it's as simple as that, guys. You know, making sure that's 100% level is always going to make sure that your crosshair is in the direct center line of your ball, and you know, and your horizontal line is dead center and aligned with you know, with your bore as well. So that scope now is perfectly mounted in line with the ball. The next thing we would do to go on from here would be to bore sight this rifle. Although in this instance I'm going to leave that for another video on bore sighting altogether. But if you get yourself a decent bore sighting tool, and by a decent bore sighting tool I don't mean those ones that you fit in your chamber and it'll project the laser out the front. You want to get yourself a good quality one where you can turn and that'll allow you to fit the attachment into the end of your barrel, and you know, with the scope adjust aligner in the top of that as well, and that'll then project your crosshairs, and then you can then proceed to look through the scope down at the wall with the crosshair on the wall and adjust your scope exactly in line with the bore of your rifle. When you do that, you should be absolutely 100% on paper. Even now, as it sits, without making any adjustments, you should still be on paper. But there we have it, guys. Quick, simple, easy, and you know, instead of going by eye and you know, doing everything by eye like you know, you would have once done, this kit takes all the human error out of it, and you know, and just makes it that 100% better. You know. It'll guarantee you a nice good fit up of your optic. Like I said, there's nothing worse than going out like this optic and spending $400 or $500 on a really nice scope, or maybe a couple of $1,000 on a really nice scope, and then ruining it by crushing your scope tube by having, you know, wrongly fitted the rings, and then, you know, over torquing the set screws on the rings, you know, to crush your tube and absolutely destroying a you know, your top quality high dollar scope. So anyway, guys, hope you like the video, and as always, like, favorite, subscribe, and share with your friends on social media, and we'll do another one very shortly on how to bore sight, and we'll show you that as well. So there you go, guys. That's how simple it is. A little bit of time. These kits are about, I think they sell on Midway USA for about $109. You know, you can pick them up on eBay sometimes for cheaper, but well worth the while of getting. Like I say, they cover both. I'll show you what basically fully comes in the kit. When you buy the kit, it comes, like I say, with your fat wrench, both your levels. It comes with all your different tools that you're ever going to come across when mounting a scope. It comes with your 1-inch lapping bar and aligning rings and compound. Now with the lapping bar, I didn't run through that obviously because I didn't have to, but if you have to lap the rings, guys, it's as simple as you take your lapping bar handle, which I have here, and you take some lapping compound, and you would smear some lapping compound around the bar on both sides. You would then slide the bar in all the way through and fit the. You can either do it one or two ways. You can fit the handle on the rear like this, or there's also a spot in the center. Now for something for this size rings, I would tend to. I always like to try and do it in the center, but with the gap that we have in the middle here, I would probably tend to turn around and fit the handle on the rear. Just so that the reason I like to fit it to the center is so that you're putting even pressure between both rings. But you know, if it won't allow much of a range of movement, you can fit it to the rear. But yeah, and that will make sure, especially with these style of base, that both your rings and you know, are totally in line, both vertically and horizontally. and it'll also give you a much smoother and a much more contact point between both your mount and your scope. So you'll get a good, at least 70 to 80% contact, on all surfaces of your scope when you're mounting it. So great kit, well worth it. Like I say again, they come with a 1-inch, and they also come with the 30mm kit as well. So for those big 30mm scopes, you've got your larger one again. So anyway guys, again, hope you liked the video, hope it helps out, and showing you guys how to properly mount an optic. As always guys, take care, and safe and happy hunting.